So now I'm going to give you 9 points for becoming an author. So if you're writing, now's the time to write. I am so excited. I love talking about books and about becoming an author. All right, so number 1, identify what you want to write about. What is the idea? What is the purpose? What is the motivation? Why do you want to write the book that you want to write about? Now that I've inspired you and I've motivated you, you're like, all right, Madelyn, I'm going to write a book. So what would you like to write about? Maybe in this precise moment, you're like, hey, Madelyn, I don't have anything in my mind. Of course you do. Of course you do. Maybe you want to talk about pain. Maybe you want to talk about happiness. Maybe you want to talk about encouraging others. Maybe you want to talk about becoming an author. Whatever it is that you want to write about, whatever it is, it's already in you. You already have it. Just don't let fear block you. Just don't let fear like, oh, well, I'd like to write about this topic, but I'm a little fearful what people might say. We're here for you. We're here to support you. Don't worry about what you think. Don't worry about thinking that people are going to criticize you. So just throw that out the window. People, as a matter of fact, can I be real, girls? Hey, listen, people are always going to criticize us. We're always going to get criticized. My books have been criticized. Most of the stuff that I've done have been criticized by very few select people, but then praised by so many great people. So it doesn't matter. You're always going to receive criticism once you put yourself out there. So, for example, identify what do you want to write about. When I wrote my book, Express Leadership, Your Mission is Everything, the reason why I wrote this book is because I had a dream. God gave me a dream that it was my last day on earth, and it was just like a few seconds left for me to just depart from earth and go into eternity. And it was just such a scary moment for me. So when I woke up from the dream, in the dream, my only words were, did I fulfill my earthly assignment? Did I fulfill my earthly mission? So when I woke up, I was so afraid. I was like, oh my God, whatever God has sent me to do here on earth, I want to fulfill it. So God gave me the title through a dream. So don't worry. If God doesn't give you the title through a dream, don't worry. He can put the title in your heart. He can put the title in your mind. God is a God of diversity. He does everything differently with everyone. So that's why I wrote the book Express Leadership, and it's titled Express Leadership because express leadership in whatever area God has put you in, whether it's to be a speaker, whether it's to be an author, whether it's to be a teacher, whether it's to be a mother who has a special anointing, because if you're a mother, you have a special anointing to raise kids from God. So whatever area, whatever field God has placed you, just express leadership in that area. And your mission is everything, understanding that you're here on earth for a mission. So the reason why I wrote this book is because I wanted to, the purpose was to motivate women to have a relationship with God so that they can fulfill their earthly mission. Only when you have a relationship with the Creator, you're going to know why you're here. It doesn't matter if your mom or your dad or your best friend or your boyfriend or whoever, or your mentor tells you what you should do. The only one that knows what you should do and the reason why you were created is God. He's your creator. Everyone else speaking around you are part of the creation. They're not the creator. I'm not saying that there aren't people that are around you. They're going to give you good advice. I'm not saying that. So if someone gives you good advice and you're like, hey, Madelyn, I speak to someone who always gives me good advice. What would you say? That's fine. You could take the advice. I wouldn't take action. I would pray about it and I would present it to the Lord and say, God, if this is coming from you, I need you to confirm this in my life in a supernatural way. You know why? Because when you do what God has called you to do, all the depression, the frustration, the anxiety, the stress is going to go away and the fear is going to go away because God is going to make you become courageous and this bold woman that people are just going to be like, what happened to Damaris? What happened to Haley? What happened to Shay, Christina? Can't see so many of you. So God is going to make you bold. He's going to make you courageous. That's the only thing that's going to make you bold and courageous. When you're like, you know what? I know why I'm here. So I want to just speak a little bit more about that, knowing why you're here. So maybe you're asking yourself right now, okay, Madelyn, it's great. I'm here on earth. How do I know? Well, you'll know. because those things that you like to do, that you're passionate about, whether it's writing, whether it's creating, whether it's teaching, I guarantee you, and I promise you, there is one or more than one area where you're good at. So don't feel ashamed if you're not good at other areas and people are criticizing you, or you don't understand why someone else is good, because that's not your calling. And you know what? Stop focusing on that, because focus on what God has placed inside of you, because that's what's truly going to make you happy. Amen. So number one, identify what you want to write about. What you want to write about. Okay, what's the purpose, motivation? Point number two, identify what type of book it will be. For example, will it be nonfiction? Will it be nonfiction? Will it be fiction? Will it be a self-help book, inspirational, devotional? Will it be a Christian book, a book on business, a children's book, whatever you want to write about. For example, my book, Express Leadership, is a Christian book with a combination of self-help, my testimony, and examples of women from the Bible and famous women who are alive today fulfilling their earthly assignment. So that's what my book is about. It's a combination. So it can also, and it also has a devotional at the end. So of 21 days. So it can be a combination of things. But as long as you're clear, identify what type of book will it be. So my book is nonfiction. It's based on true events. It's based on real things. Okay, so now that's number two. So number three is, what is the title and subtitle? Like I said before, God gave me the title through a dream, but God can give it to you through your mind. Maybe you see the title of another book and you say, wow, I would like to have a book similar to that title. Maybe you can change something around. And don't get frustrated. Maybe at this point in your life, you're like, hey, Madelyn, I don't have a title for my book. But in the process, when you start writing, you might discover the title for your book. And if you don't worry, keep writing. You can discover it at the end. Or maybe at this very moment, you have the title already. Say, hey, Madelyn, I already know what the title would be. Okay, so that was number three. So number four is, the book needs structure. We need to divide the book into titles and subtitles. This is so important. So for example, so if you're going to write a book about purpose, let's just say, hey, Madelyn, I'm going to write about purpose. I want to talk about purpose. Okay, purpose is great. There's a lot to say about purpose, because there's a purpose while you're watching me. There's a purpose for you going to the supermarket and buying coffee. Well, that's my purpose, because so I can drink coffee in the morning. There's a purpose for me to work because I need money. There's so many, life is all about purpose. There's a purpose for everything. So if you say you want to talk about purpose, what do you want to specifically talk about? So you can say, hey, Madelyn, you know what? I want to talk about the purpose of being a woman of God, number one, the purpose of fulfilling my earthly mission, number two, and I'm going to develop this a little bit later on. And number three, Madelyn, the purpose of finding the right man in my life. So there you go, because there's a purpose for everything. So you got to narrow it down. You got to be clear. So when you do that and you start dividing things, even if you change it later, it doesn't matter, but just structure it. Because if you structure it, you'll know where you need to put the things that you're writing about, and it'll be much easier. Don't just start writing a book and saying, well, later I'll divide it and do the titles and the subtitles. It'll be so much harder. You'll be so overwhelmed looking at all these words. I mean, it's happened to me. And you're like, you know what? I can't do this now. I'm just going to work on another project. So to save yourself from all of that, do the titles and subtitles within the book, titles and subtitles, what you want to talk about. Because, for example, let's say you're talking about those three topics: purpose of finding a husband, purpose of my earthly mission, and purpose of me being a woman of God. So let's say purpose of women of God is the first chapter. Being a woman of God, the purpose of being a woman of God, I need some coffee. The purpose of being a woman of God is my first chapter. My second chapter is going to be about the purpose of finding my earthly mission. And my third chapter is going to be about the purpose of finding my husband. So let's say you wake up today, say, hey, Madelyn, I want to flow in rhythm writing my book, but I don't want to talk about the first chapter today. I want to talk about the purpose of finding a husband. So what you'll do is you'll just go to that section and you'll write it down, because you have to be inspired to write. You can't just write just to write cold letters, cold words on paper. You know, cold words that are not coming from your heart. It has to come from your heart. That's why sometimes we see these famous books or even these famous movies that we're just like, why was that movie? That movie was so simple. That book was so simple to read, but it was so powerful because the person spoke from their heart. And that's what you want to give from your heart. You want to give from your heart. So, for example, when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I like to do is I like to drink coffee. I'm a morning person. So I flow in the morning to write. I am not a evening person to flow in writing or a night person. I like to do things in the morning. That's like, I have the energy. I am so super creative. So maybe you're not creative in the morning. Maybe you're creative in the afternoon. Maybe you're creative at night. I know some writers, famous writers that are creative past 12 a.m. It's like 4 a.m. and then they wake up at 8. I need my 7 hours of sleep. So I function in the morning with my cup of coffee. That is just like amazing for me. I feel so happy. I feel like I'm already in heaven. So you have to find what works best for you. What works for me doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work for you. That was number 4. So number 5, we have here, develop a topic. So that's what I was doing before, but we're going to develop it now. So for example, number 5, I repeat, develop a topic. So we're talking about, let's say you're talking about purpose. You're like, all right, Madelyn, talking about purpose. So we have the 3 chapters that we already spoke about: the purpose of a godly woman, the purpose of finding your earthly mission, and the purpose of finding a husband. So number 1, the purpose of being a godly woman. What would you say about that? You can say, well, what does a godly woman do? She would read the Bible, meditate on the Bible. She'll pray, she'll fast, she'll go to church. She'll have believers as friends around her to help her and encourage her. So that's how you start developing. Number 2, the next one is, let's say chapter 2, purpose of my earthly mission. You're like, the reason why you're here. For example, I don't know why you're here, but you know why you're here because you feel it inside. You know what you were called to do. You can envision it. You close your eyes and you see yourself doing it. You've told certain people and they've told you you can't do it. So you're a bit discouraged, or now you're afraid, or you haven't told anyone, but you know why you were created. You see the movie in your mind. Yeah, and you see it all the time because we all do. And so, for example, I don't know what your earthly mission is, but for example, my earthly mission is to spread the gospel. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to spread the gospel through my books, through journalism, interviewing believers and supernatural things that happen in their life, as a speaker, as a preacher. I don't know if I said preacher, but I'll say it again, as a preacher. And also I work at the United Nations with an ambassador. And what do I do there? I work with him specifically as the faith branch chairperson. So I'm building with the ambassador a platform to connect the Christian global community with the United Nations. So did you understand that? Everything I do revolves around expanding the gospel, spreading the gospel. So there's something inside of you that you have that has to manifest, and you can manifest that in different areas of your life. It doesn't just have to be, for example, I don't just have to be an author and just, spread the gospel through writing, or just through preaching, or just through journalism, or only at the United Nations. You can do a variety of things. So don't limit yourself. Point number 6 into writing your book is research. Do research for the book. So for example, let's say you want to write about, we're writing about purpose. Go to a website that is credible. You have Google. You don't have to go to the library. You can, but you don't have to go to the library anymore. You can find everything on Google. So, but make sure that whatever information you're finding, so if you're saying something like, let's say there's 300 million people that live in the United States, and you say something like, there's 250 million people in the United States that suffer from depression. You got to be careful. Where'd you get that kind of information from? So you have to go to credible websites. Credible websites. Make sure they are credible and they're experts in their field. So point number 7, and I'm almost done, is the internal part of a book. So for example, inside the book, You're going to write an introduction. You're also going to write an introduction of what the book is about. You're also going to do a dedication page, which is, you know, you're being thankful to the people who've helped you. You want to say, hey, Mom, thank you for all your support, or whoever it is that you want to mention in your book on that specific page who has supported you. And you just want to say thank you. Also, we have inside the book about the author. That goes in the back part of the page of the book about the author. People need to know who you are. And that's it. And then the outside part of the book is, as you can see, the cover, the book cover. This is the book cover. This particular book, my picture is on it, but usually the picture goes in the back of the book. So you need a picture, you need a book cover, you need a picture of yourself, and also the back information here of the book is just information about the book. Or you can have people who can comment on your work or who you are, like I did as well here, that are talking about who I am. Like Madelyn is credible, Madelyn, you know, is an expert in her field, whatever it is that someone wants to write about you. So don't worry. Oh, that's point number 9. So point number 9, publish the book for free on Amazon. So maybe you're saying, hey, Madelyn, thank you for all this information that you're giving me. I appreciate it, but right now I have no money. Guess what? You can publish your book for free. So you might be asking, so you can write your book. It can be a short book. It can be an ebook. You can upload it for free on Amazon, and it'll be distributed worldwide. Your book cover for free. You can get a book cover for free on Amazon as well, because they have free book covers. And if you're like, hey, Madelyn, okay, so I can upload my book on Amazon. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to upload it on Amazon. You're telling me that my book cover, that I can do a book cover for, I can get a book cover for free on Amazon. Great. So I can upload my book on Amazon, get my book cover for free on Amazon. But what's going to happen with my picture, Madelyn? You can take a picture with your cell phone. These cell phones take better pictures than a lot of high pro cameras that are out there. And you could just place your picture right in the back part of your book. So all completely free. And don't worry to make mistakes. You need to make mistakes to grow. In life, you're going to make mistakes, and making mistakes is amazing. So don't fear to make mistakes. So I spoke to you about 3 different phases. Phase 1 is the creative process, which is to write the book, how to develop it, how to develop its content. That's phase 1, the creative process. Phase 2 is the internal and external, what belongs inside the book and what belongs outside the book. Phase 3 is the publication process, which you can become an independent author by uploading it on Amazon completely for free, and your book will be distributed all over the world. And I just want to say 2 more things. I just want to give you a tip. You have to be intentional about it. You have to be intentional and take time to do this. And not say maybe one day I'll do it. Be intentional and write. Write even if you don't want to publish it, but I recommend that you write, because it's going to help you for whatever you're going through. We're all going through something. Maybe I'm not going through what you're going through, but I'm going through something else. We're all going through something. So that's why the word of God says that our joy doesn't come from our material possessions. It doesn't come because of the amount of money we have in our bank accounts. Our joy doesn't come because of the people that are in our lives that are supporting us. Our joy comes from the Lord, because he is the source. He is the source. So that's why sometimes we have issues with family members, even with friends or people around us, because God is like, you're depending too much on people around you. You're depending too much on family members. That's why this conflict is occurring. Not that he's sending you, not that he wants conflict in your life, but he needs to refocus your attention to him. So remember, your joy comes from God. So write. And another thing, I got to repeat this again. It doesn't have to be long. Your book doesn't have to be long. Your book doesn't have to be long. So maybe, you know what? Maybe it's 10 pages. You say, you know what, Madelyn, I did 10 pages, and this is the story that I saw for my life. And you know what? That's fine. It can even be 5 pages. It's okay. When I was in college, I remember I wrote a story about my life, about what I wanted to see in my future in 5 pages. So write, express yourself. And I want you to take from this classes, from this workshop, is that you understand that it doesn't matter what you're going through. You have a voice. You have a powerful voice. And the moment you know that you have a voice, it doesn't matter what you're going through. You're going to keep striving and thriving, because you're going to understand that you're here on earth for a purpose.